I just realized when I do this, it's going to show me doing this. Oh, shit. Oh, good thing no one's here to see this. And there we go. Although, shit, what color text is the jar font? No! CJ didn't plan ahead.
Does the jar font blend too much into the Seven Samurai?
It actually looks okay. I'm still gonna, I think, change it to a different color. But while we do that, we can just talk about our life.
Yeah.
How have you been doing?
Been good.
Ooh,
I
make
finished
blood red.
reading Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep this week, which was really good. I liked that book a lot. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Oh, there we go. Now it's in creepy blood red font. Done. There we go. Oh well. We're not here to make money. We're here for the love of the game.
Yeah.
But pretty all right. Finished Kingdom Come Deliverance, so now I'm a little sad.
Oh yeah.
Cause
Man, yeah, that you spent a lot of time on that game.
that was 130 hours almost. Hey, bud.
Started yet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can still say something. No one's here.
No, it's about the mower.
Oh, what's wrong with the
No.
mower?
It's not battery operated. You have to plug it into an extension cord the entire time.
No, what?
That's what the operation manual says.
Well, we can just return it.
Okay.
That doesn't sound right because they said the battery charges it.
Because I just read the operations or the owner's manual. It's like you have to plug it in to use it.
Hold on, I'll come. Do you? I think. Are you sure you just don't plug it into the mower to charge it in the mower? All right. Well, hey, welcome to Good Game with Bad People. Good Lawnmowers with Bad People. We're testing. Will's here with us.
We're here to solve all your lawnmower questions.
We're gonna learn lawnmower stuff. No one's here, so it's fine.
This show is basically now car talk, but only for lawnmowers.
See, because it says right there, a corded electric lawnmower.
Huh. Shit.
Well, if you want to make it portable, you can get a portable electric generator, and you can just have Will walk behind you carrying the generator, and then you have a really short cord, and then
That's Robert
the other
motioning.
person the mower.
What'd you say, Will?
Robert was doing like this.
Yeah, he's talking about lawnmowers.
Oh, okay.
What? Huh.
Anyway, how are you, Robert?
I'm doing well, and yourself? Can
Yeah.
Will even hear me?
He can't. I can translate.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm a little bummed that the mower we thought was battery, like had batteries in it, that you just charge and use is actually like extension cord. So you'd have to be running an extension cord the entire time you're mowing the lawn.
Yeah, that seems like the way that you end up having to replace an extension cord at least once a month.
Because here's the question, and now the answer has changed. Or now it's someone going, "Hey, idiot, it's a corded one." Because the other person was like, "Yeah, you charge it for 2 days and it works just fine."
Well, it's still we can still return it, right?
Yeah. I mean, how much of an extension cord would we need to do it?
Quite a bit more than we have.
How
Well-
big is your lawn?
Anyway, we can talk about it later.
Okay,
When you
well,
guys get back to
shit.
your stream.
Well, no.
Well,
that's
wait,
what
doesn't
the
it come with
show's
an
here
extension
for.
cord?
No.
says maximum extension cord length 100 feet. 100 feet. Oh, well, whatever. I guess we'll return it. Damn it. Oh, well.
Sorry for the interruption.
It's okay.
Bye.
Well, now I feel dumb.
It's not your fault.
Hey, every single one of us at one point in our lives has bought something because we thought that what it said on the box was different from what it meant. I think that's a universal human experience.
Yeah, but now that was one of the items I bought during like Prime Day when they're like, "Hey, get us a mower," and the mower was like a really good deal. It was
Yeah.
It was like $100 off, so I was like, "Oh man!" And when I read the questions about it, they were like, "Yeah, you charge it," and I was like, "All right."
Mm-hmm. So it's like only electric. It doesn't have like a gas tank that you can use.
Yeah, it's only electric, which is what I knew it was electric. I guess what I was reading as corded was like you plug it in and you could keep it plugged in while you were mowing if you wanted to, or you just charge it.
Yeah.
But I'm a dumb idiot. And now we have to figure out how we return it.
It happens.
But anyway, so we're start of the month, so our goals sort of reset. The subs stayed the same, I guess, according to Twitch.
Yeah.
But our bit goal went back to the start, and Fabulous Owl Riot has taken the lead once again.
Oh no. Poor Stysik. He's gonna be heartbroken.
I'm sure he'll get over it. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
But the first thing we were going to talk about today is the movie Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa.
Indeed.
I need to ask Will if he has the remote for this monitor because, like, it is just blowing white light onto the side of my face.
You are number one, Fabulous Owl Riot.
Or if Will could tell me how to use the menu function, because it clearly says menu right there, but every time I touch it, it just turns the volume down.
Maybe we'll get lucky and Fabulous Owl Riot will be a expert on that specific monitor for no apparent reason.
That would be really convenient. 'Cause I also, like, I noticed when I was playing another game, there was like a lot of blue on screen. Just the side of my face was blue for a lot of it, and I was like, oh. Oh man, I'm just really upset with myself. Fuck. I felt so proud. I got so many good deals, and it ended up being a pile of shit. But
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
I hope when we move to Minnesota, we just don't have a lawn.
Yeah. That's like my ideal in life too, is a house with no lawn. On like a cactus garden.
Mm. But to start with the movie, this was the first time I believe we've seen it all the way through. Like, have you
it's
seen
the
any
first
of it?
time No, I hadn't seen any of it before.
I had seen a little bit of it in a film class because it was being compared to another Akira Kurosawa film, Yojimbo, which actually stars, and one thing about the movie, I need to pull up everyone's names. There were so many characters with names in this movie.
Yeah. It's a lot to keep track of. I definitely don't remember everyone's names.
The character, he was like the wily hobo samurai,
Kikuchio?
Kikuchio. That guy is in a bunch of Akira Kurosawa films.
Yeah.
He is the giant Toshiro Mifune, the actor.
Yeah, apparently the movie was actually originally called Six Samurai, and they felt like it was too serious. So his character, they like changed him to that different character, and Kurosawa let him improvise a lot. So I get the feeling like he and Kurosawa had a big relationship.
Because like even this movie poster, which I'm looking at Wikipedia, he is like the primary figure of it. It's when he's dressed like a bandit.
Yeah. I mean,
oh, sorry.
Yeah. We'll talk about him more later. I feel like he's a character worth talking about.
But the reason I was bringing it up is he plays the main character in Yojimbo. He is the Yojimbo, which means bodyguard in Japanese. And it's how there's a scene in that one where they're like in a like the main square, and how there's a scene very similar in Seven Samurai. That's all. That is the extent of what I had seen of Seven Samurai.
Yeah. There's apparently one other connection between those two films, specifically around his characters.
It's the way he moves weird like a dog.
No.
Oh, because that's definitely one too.
It's the fact that in both movies, the audience never learns what his actual name is.
Yeah. Because I don't think he has a name at all in Yojimbo.
Yeah.
He's just samurai. That movie's really cool. Anyway, but yeah. So what do you think overall? What was your feelings of it, just to get the general impressions?
I would say I liked it. I don't know if I loved it, but I also, for me, like, I feel the same way about it kind of that I feel about the original Star Trek series, where like it's enjoyable to watch, but I've seen way better versions of it, I guess. And so it's like hard to appreciate it for me personally, but at the same time, I can see it and understand it within its historical context and be like, man, this is a crazy achievement. And like, I really appreciate what it did for like the history of film. And I will say this, like, it's a 3.5 hour movie from like 1958, and I watched it on a day where I was crazy stressed out, and I was never bored with it. So like, I feel like that says something. But I also, like, it was hard to watch it and not be like, I feel like we could do a modern version of this that would maybe be better.
It's funny you bring that up, is because there are very many modern
Yeah.
versions of it, which Dervik popped in and he was like, you guys should watch The Magnificent Seven next and then have a comparison about them. And I was like, maybe.
Be fun.
Yeah,
Is the Magnificent Seven less than 3 hours long?
Yes. It's 2 hours and 54 minutes.
Is it really?
I have no idea. I'm almost positive I've actually seen The Magnificent Seven because it's such a classic Western movie. I think my dad like found it in a discount bin for $0.05, and we watched it. But oh my goodness, now it keeps opening all of my default web browsers in the weird shitty monitor. I have to say, like, especially with the amount of I forgot that there are 3 Magnificent Seven movies. And I didn't know that Akira Kurosawa wrote the screenplay for that. Now I kind of do really want to watch it. How long is that movie? It's just over 2 hours. But
It's not too bad.
yeah, it's not too bad.
But yeah, how'd you like this movie?
I really liked it, and it was another movie where I went into it knowing how old it was, and then looking at everything and being like, wow, this felt like at the time a movie that if people said this movie is epic or an epic, I would believe them. Like the scope of the shots and the set pieces and the oh my goodness, what's it called? The setting, not the setting, the staging. Wow, what's the stuff in the set called? Is it just called the set?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I would say the set.
Or whatever you call it, just like the building. Like they had to build small villages to make this movie.
Yeah, they like Kurosawa had a village built specifically for it, even over Toho's objections, because they already had a village. He just didn't want to use it.
But that was good. The one thing that was weird to me that I got over very fast, because like it's 2019 and everything I watch and consume, even to the stuff that is on the PBS Kids network, has like gritty, realistic violence, was the stage nature of the violence in this movie.
Yeah.
Is that when you saw people get killed by sword cuts and stuff, it's clear they're not being cut with swords. It's almost like they're like, ha! And like tag them with a sword, and the person goes, ah! And then falls over and dies.
Yeah. Well, I think they were really depending on the editing to sell the fighting. Because I can't remember the name of the character who was the master swordsman.
Oh, shit.
But apparently that actor had never even handled a sword before, and he was really hesitant to take the role because he was like, I don't think I can sell this. And Kurosawa had convinced him, like, no, we have these framing and editing techniques that will do all the work, so you don't have to be anything even remotely like a master swordsman. We'll make it work in post.
Oh yeah, it definitely like worked where they'd obscure like someone being speared to death and stuff like that. But there's like one shot that like stood out clearly. It was during the end, during the big stage, like the big fight. It was where one of the bandits was like climbing up over the wall, and just one of the samurais goes and just kind of poked him like in the upper thigh, and he does the whole arching his back of like ah, and falls off the wall, and then no one attacks him again. He just dies
Yeah.
from literally getting butt poked, and I was like, oh, that was goofy. But like I let my brain kind of adjust to what was happening, and it was fine.
Yeah.
But all the characters were good. I don't know. It was just a good movie, and it would be another one if I would have seen it at the time. I would have been like, wow.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of what I read kind of credited this movie, well, with a lot of tropes, but specifically with like the idea of a movie where the plot is about assembling a team of heroes to do a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the movie that's the origin of that, and that's pretty cool.
But there's just a lot that was really cool. Like, being such a long movie, they had so much time to like build characters. Like, I was surprised how many characters like I got to know. And I was like, I didn't expect any of the farmers to really get developed.
Yeah.
But at least two of them, Yohei and then Rikishi, or Rikichi.
Rikichi?
Yeah, Rikichi both got decent development.
Yeah.
The Monzo and then the old man. Like, I expected this to be a movie about the Seven Samurai, but it was really about a community at the end of it.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciated. I'm trying to think of some stuff. Like, it was also a movie, like, I'm glad you brought up that point about saying, like, oh, it was a movie they thought was too serious, and that's why they had to add him. There was a surprising amount of stuff that I laughed at. Not like, ha 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 ha, this is hilarious, but like, oh, that was a good one.
Some good bits, yeah.
There are definitely good bits. Like, I don't know, like, it made me laugh when they were doing the whole, like, the training the samurai, like, not training, like, testing to see if a samurai is worthy by having the young samurai stand behind the thing and, like, swing a stick at him.
Yeah.
And the one where it was, like, I think it was Heihachi, when, like, the other samurai, like, he'd walk in and then, like, he'd, like, catch the stick. Heihachi knew enough to not even go in. And he just goes, like, instead of getting mad, he just goes, hey, you trying to punk me? And then the old guy's like, oh, you got it! And I was like, yes, that's awesome. I was a little bummed, because I knew exactly what was going to happen with that scene, and then whatever the Mifune's character was, what's his name? Kikuchiyo was... I knew he was going to come in, and then he was going to get hit with the stick. I was really hoping they'd go full, like, slapstick almost, because he was drunk in that scene when the thing was going to hit him. I was hoping it was going to, like, bust over him, and then he was going to be, like, not fazed by it. And that's how they were going to be like, we're bringing him.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, what were some of your favorite parts?
I feel like the way that it worked out really sells that character.
Yep, like everything that happened after that, where he's just drunk and running around, and he just creates this image of like a hard ass person who really wants to be accepted.
Yeah, or even like a goofy guy who's trying to be a hard ass person.
Yes, where like it's very clear he has like the heart of gold sort of thing going on.
Yeah, well, like to me, he's kind of the emotional core of the movie.
Yep.
But yeah, like that scene is great too. There were some things that I learned in my research that made it like even a little funnier to me. Like, so you remember he hands them that scroll and they're laughing because the scroll is for like a 13-year-old?
Well, the person he claims to be is 13, yeah.
Yeah, But like the other thing that I think this is kind of an interesting and subtle choice on Kurosawa's part to like not have the samurai focus on this bit, but the other thing that's funny to the samurai is that the name Kikuchiyo is a girl's name, and it's like a name made up of two names that's kind of similar to an American name like Sarah Beth or something like that.
Oh,
so yeah, like he's so illiterate, he's handed them a scroll and is claiming to be a 13-year-old girl. And, like, the name that they call him the whole time is a girl's name. But, like, I don't know, he runs with it so well.
He's so good. Like the thing with his acting, which I thought was really good, because this movie came out before Yojimbo, is that when they were making Yojimbo, Kurosawa told him to be his character from that again, but as if he had not died in that movie. Spoilers, died in that movie, and grown up to be like a hardened mercenary, where he has very same tics, but like the thing that is also like very noticeable is how sort of animalistic Kikuchio is, where he's always kind of like sitting and scratching himself and like shifting his shoulders in a way like a dog would. Is that's what his character does very noticeably in Yojimbo, is he's like always doing that and like ruffling his shoulders and scratching at every part of his body.
That sounds pretty cool.
And I was just like,
watch that at some point.
I was almost going to recommend it, but we seem to have been doing a good job of not just doing two like Quentin Tarantino movies, right?
Same thing in a row.
Yeah, but Yojimbo was like my favorite movie I watched in all of my film classes, because it had cool action and it wasn't a depressing allegory for childbirth or whatever. Wasn't Battleship Potemkin.
Yeah.
Trying to think. What? I don't know what to talk about, because like it's just a movie that as I was watching, I'm like, there's just so much to talk about. With what like the way little things changed made me like surprised. Like I don't know what they would be called, but they were like the asshole bandity guys that were like staying in the house where the villagers were, who were always like making fun of them for being peasants.
Yeah, like in the town when they're looking for samurai, those guys.
Yeah, is that one like the main dude becomes like a little helper guy, and he even like he's one of the reasons I would say he is like the turning point reason why the old samurai agrees to help them. Is because he's like, eat this rice, because they're gonna go back and eat millet, and they're giving you all of their rice. Isn't that pathetic of them? But he's like, I took it as a way of it, like, you should feel bad for not helping them, samurai man.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's like, yo, we found you another dude, and it was Kikuchio or whatever, and I was just like, oh. Like, I didn't expect them to be more than that one scene where they were just being dicks.
Yeah.
But then they're like, nope, we're going to use them again and do character development because fuck you, writing's hard. And I was
That's pretty interesting. That's like a cool choice to make, though.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like, I don't know, it says a lot about that character, too, that he's, like, being a drunk asshole one day and then, like, the next day is kind of, like, really sympathizing with the plight of the farmers and helps them out.
Like, no one felt like a flat character.
Yeah.
Aside from, which my biggest disappointment is there wasn't really, like, a structured main villain. Like, the bandits were just this force.
Yeah, they feel like they're not developed that much past just like any bandit in like in a video game. If you ran into a just like bandit mob that you could fight, like they're kind of just that.
As a goofy little side thing, a whole bunch of bandit designs from the game Neo were taken exactly from this movie.
That makes sense.
So many bandits are dressed exactly like how Kikuchio dresses up near the end, where he just has like the adult diaper thing, and then the face mask, and then that armor. It's weird. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, that's so many of those dudes. And then yep. But that was my big thing, especially like the bandit chief, who like he has like a really elaborate costuming, like with the cool Shogun helmet and all this stuff. But I'm like, you never even learn his name.
Yeah.
And really, by the end, the bandits weren't even something I felt was a threat really anymore.
Yeah, like by the time you get to the final battle, you're like, they've already killed more than half of them. Why? Like, it seems dumb for the bandits to even try and come back.
It felt more like a feudal version of Home Alone to me, where it's just a troupe of Joes, Pesci's, and whatever Merv's actor's name was, just getting prank murdered. And I was just like, I feel almost like the bandits are bad, but I felt bad for them because they're like, yeah, we're going to do this. And then they just get like isolated and horror terror murdered by peasants with stabby sticks.
Yeah, that one scene where they've caught where they killed 2 of the scouts and bring the
Mhm.
other back to town.
That was
And then, like,
terrifying.
Yeah, that was scary. Although it did make me laugh when like the samurai are kind of like getting people to back down a little, but then Grandma shows up with the like farm implement and is like, "I'm fucking doing this."
That, like, I could see why people would think that was funny. That had the opposite effect for me. Like, that was so not funny because it was
Yeah.
this, because like you had seen the old woman before and you saw how she was like barely holding it together.
Yeah.
And then, but she's like, I want to kill this person so bad that I'm going to get up and just kill him with a farming implement.
Yeah, I think it's definitely meant to read that way. I just like.
Yeah, I just, to modern audiences, I can see why it's kind of goofy, where
Yeah.
it's like, haha, this old lady's gonna kill you. It's like, you're gonna get ran over by a Zamboni equivalent. Like, it's this frail old woman who, in a reality, would never be able to kill you.
Yeah.
But, no, like, that to me, I was like, oh, that's fucked up. And then when the old man's just like, let her get revenge, and then the samurai move away, and then all of the farmers just congregate off screen. You hear the man yelling for his life, and then he's murdered by farming implements.
Yeah.
Like, that just, I was one of the things, that movie did a really good job of being both very dark and very lighthearted within like interchangeable moments. It never felt jarring. It just
Yeah.
felt like refreshing every time, where I'd be like, haha, to like, oh man.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I don't know, like it just, Kurosawa feels like he makes movies that have a good soul to them.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen
Like-
any other ones aside from Seven Samurai?
Yeah, so I've seen Ikaru a
Oh, yeah,
couple of
you
times.
told
I
me
like
that.
that one a lot.
I forgot.
And then I watched Dreams, which
Yep.
I've only seen once, but I liked that as well.
Because I had seen, before this, I had seen Stray Dog, Yojimbo, and then 2 other ones when I was looking at like the list of Kurosawa films. I don't remember what they were. And they're all good from what I remember.
Yeah.
There were definitely some scenes in that movie that like stuck out and haunted me, like the we're gonna Wu-Tang murder this one tied up man by an old lady. But another one was when they were burning down when they sneak in to burn down the bandit camp.
Yeah, that's like a super dark scene.
That was so fucked up when like the woman, she like wakes up and is scared clearly for a bit when she sees there a fire, but then she chooses not to say anything so that everyone will burn to death.
Yeah, and then when you like then you add on top of that the horrific realization that she was Rikichi's wife, and she like sees Rikichi there and walks back into the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That was a little confusing to me, like what they were trying to say with that, where either I didn't know if she was saying because she was embarrassed to like be found by Rikichi like that, or if she didn't want to be with Rikichi because he's like kind of like a pussy pushover angry person. So like,
I guess like the way that I read it was that it was like one of those fucked up like honor type of things where she was like, I've been
sullied.
violated by these bandits. I can never go back to my husband.
That's what
And
I
so like
yeah.
she walks out of the fire and then sees her husband and it's like out. At least that's the way it read to me.
I think that's probably what it was, but it just at the same time it was. I kind of wish someone like the old Sarah been like she just couldn't accept coming back to whatever, but I mean that's just me being a dumb American who just likes everything explained to them. Speaking
Yeah.
of being dumb Americans, for being a movie set so much in like a specific part of Japanese culture, there really wasn't anything in that movie that felt like I need to be Japanese to understand this.
Yeah, although it's entirely possible that there were things like that we just didn't catch, like the Kikuchio's name thing.
But there wasn't anything that like there wasn't a scene.
Yeah,
Where, like-
it's super watchable
Mhm.
as an audience, even if you have like no understanding really of that culture.
And like what you're knowing the Kikuchio thing is like a bonus.
Yeah.
But like I've definitely seen movies where it's like, oh, I've even seen animes where it's like, I'm not Japanese, I don't get what this scene is doing. Like I was a little worried when like near the beginning when the old man shows up and then all those village people were with him and then he starts getting his head shaved. I was like, oh, what's going on? Is this going to be some weird Japanese ritualistic thing they're not going to explain? And it's like, no, he's being a clever old bastard and he's going to sneak in there and murder that thief. And I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, I guess I did actually kind of with that scene. I did understand some of the cultural context because I think that top knot is supposed to be like a thing that samurais have that shows like part of it. It's like associated with their honor.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for him to cut it off is like a display of how genuinely honorable he is because he's putting the life of that person he's saving over the thing that maybe like has the optics of honor but isn't the actual honor.
Yeah. I guess what I meant to say with that scene, I was worried because no one talks for so much of it that I thought it was going to be a scene that happens and then just disperses, and then if you were a Japanese person watching it, you'd get, oh, that's an example of a samurai being shamed and shaving his head or something. But then, like,
Gotcha.
you're like, no, this is all part of a different thing, and CJ, you're overthinking it and getting worried. But yeah, there wasn't anything where I was like, oh, what's happening? It was just, it felt like a very universal story.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I was a little confused of what was happening when they were talking about how the peasants had killed samurais. Like,
Yeah.
were they hunting down and just murdering samurais?
So I think the idea is that like samurais would have battles in the vicinity of the village, and after those battles there were like injured or dying samurai trying to get away, and the villagers hunted them down and took their weapons.
Gotcha. Because I was a little confused. Like I didn't know if it meant because it said like they had the line we can fight defeated samurais but not bandits. I was like, I don't know if that meant samurais had attacked them and then they managed to kill them. But what you said makes a lot more sense. But in that same regard, that scene where Kikuchio does that monologue, that was probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. Where
he reveals it's revealed that he was born a farmer.
Yeah, just because I think that was a thing that where you'd have to be more into Japanese stuff to get the like he's yelling at samurai and he's a commoner, which is a thing they could just murder him for. Yeah,
coming from like a culture that didn't have a caste system, it's very difficult to like wrap your head around, I guess.
Because like I forget what the term was, but it was something I learned like in history class, and then I think I have seen it in a total of one anime, but I expected to actually see it here for how much samurai culture there is. But there's a term for when a samurai would get a new sword. It was called like the living cut test, where a samurai would just like it had to be outside of a town, so that's why it was always it was supposed to be a really scary sight if you saw a samurai traveling by himself. Is that if you walk past him, he could just draw a sword and cut you with it, just to test to make sure that it was good, and that was completely legal for them to do. Is to just
because like as a peasant, you're so much less than them
that they could So it's like if you saw a samurai, you were supposed to keep walking the other way or give them such a wide berth that they couldn't cut you.
Yeah.
So I was kind of expecting to see a scene like that, and then have like see a shitty samurai do that, and then one of the good samurais kill them.
Yeah.
Because I was like. For as much as this movie kind of shows the good, I would say it shows mostly the bad of samurai, because all the samurai that agree to help seem to be like washed up samurai. But all of the samurai who are wrapped up in being a samurai all come off as dicks.
Yeah.
So I was wondering like, oh, are we going to see a scene where just some peasant gets cut down for no reason and then people just have to deal with it?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in a way though that's possibly the movie commenting on like what was fucked up about samurai culture, because like probably that like dickish I'm not gonna help a villager attitude was what like an actual samurai would have said. So like for the movie, the samurai that it's making heroic are really supposed to be seen as like exceptions to the norm, and that's really part of what we as the audience respect and love about them.
And the other did you have anything you want to say before? Like, I want to talk about the ending a bit, but
yeah, we can definitely talk about the end.
Is this movie, doing research, I learned the term Pyrrhic victory.
I did too.
Yay! Because it's a term like a situation I was aware of, but I didn't know it had a term of a victory that costs so much that it should be seen as a loss.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I wouldn't call this movie a Pyrrhic victory, but I get what they're saying.
I mean, it doesn't feel that way to the audience, but like the text of the movie says that it is, because what's the main samurai's name?
I don't know, but I meant to say, like,
Because he says to the other, like, this was not a victory for us. You know, like, we lost more than half of our numbers. It was the villagers' victory.
yeah, like, I get what he was saying with something like, you saved a village and none of you guys were like, you guys have known each other for days. But
I mean, one of the people who lives was like his old friend, wasn't he?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is the one who he knew the longest is the one who keeps living, which
Yeah.
so I'm like, yeah,
But like, maybe that speaks to his history too, because like, it's obvious that he is a really talented samurai and like a really thoughtful tactician.
mm-hmm.
And so it seems like the way that he's framed at the start of the movie, where he's like, I've never won a single battle. I'm a bad samurai. Like, when you realize what he considers to be a loss in a battle, it puts some new context on that statement, because now you're like, well, you say you've never lost a battle, but you're still here alive and you're incredibly talented. Maybe you've won all of these battles, but
Mm-hmm.
because you like take the loss of your own people so hard, none of them feel like actual wins to you.
But I can see how that's the thing. It was just in the grand scheme, I was like, oh. But
Yeah.
I did think it was very interesting that the two samurais who like survived, three because the young kid, but the young kid, I was like, either he's going to make it to the end or he's going to die doing something very stupid. Is he lives to be the one to tell the story. I forget what that type of character is called. The one who carries on. But the two samurai who live, who were like experienced samurais, were the two oldest.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting, is that to me, I kind of read that as a situation where it's in a heavy combat war scenario. It's not the strongest or the most like wily or energetic. It's the ones who think and plan and have experience.
Yeah.
Because all the younger ones die, except for the
Youngest
sword sword master guy. He just gets shot in the back.
Yeah.
But because I actually expected Kikuchi to make it to the end because of how much him and Akira Kurosawa love each other. I just thought I figured he was gonna make it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like his death is an important part of the emotional arc of the movie, though.
Yeah, like that's the thing that makes it the saddest. Is he was like
Yeah.
the fun one, like when like midway through the movie when he's walking to camp with them and he disappears, they're like, oh man, with Kikuchi gone, it's almost lonely, and then he pops up again and they're like, ow.
Yeah. Well, he's the fun one, but he's also like the one who you see show the most emotion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like both in that monologue you were talking about, and also in the scene where the old man has gone back to the mill and his family goes in to like try and save him, and for some dumb reason takes the baby with them. But then like when they find the mom in the creek and she's like in the process of dying and only the baby lives, and Kikuchio's like there crying and he's like, this is what happened to me too. Like, there's such an emotional connection that you feel to him in that moment.
And I would say of all the villagers, Kikuchio like gets along with them the best. Like
Yeah.
he calls them by their like names the most, and he is like the friend of Yohei, which I will say Yohei has the best like this. Well, the actor's dead, so I can't like this can't be an insult to him. Like the most pathetic old man face I've seen in cinema, when he like looks like he's trying not to cry or when he's terrified. I was like,
Yeah.
that is like cartoon levels of perfect.
Yeah.
And then when Yohei has his death scene, and he's like, I defended my post like you told me. I was like, so like his Kikuchio's death from that like fit perfectly thematically, where he's just this reckless person with nowhere to go, and then his friend died, so he's like, I'm gonna go kill that guy who killed my friend.
Yeah.
And he does it either after being shot point blank with a musket, which that shit tears you up.
Yeah. It's like a pretty, I don't know, it felt like a great scene for him to go out on though.
Mm-hmm.
Where like even though he dies and you feel that loss, like at the same time he gets a victory and, you know, like ends the conflict.
Yep, and he saves all the hostages. But yeah, it was just. It also was like just a weirdly methodical movie, which
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil the game. Like a Kingdom Come Deliverance has a very similar ish thing that I might be dragging too much. Where near the end, you were involved in a siege, and if it was like a AAA banger up game, the siege would be like a 10-minute whatever, where your guy storms the gate and just does a whole bunch of stuff. But
Yeah.
how the game handles it's over the course of days, and it's like every day you go and you set a little like trap or something, or a little part of a plan, and then dudes come out and you deal with them, and it feels realistic. And it was just really I was just waiting for one dude to pull out a piece of parchment with circles on it and start drawing X's on it. I was just like, oh.
That was like, I don't know why that works so well on film, but it was a thing that I enjoyed in the movie.
Of him keeping track of all the dead people.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the character was at the bottom of the flag, because I don't think it was just farmer,
Yeah.
but I don't know what it said.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or the fact they made Kikuchio a triangle. Like, I feel like there was a joke there I wasn't getting. Unless they were just trying to show that he, like, there are 6 samurai and a Kikuchio.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's, like, a greater cultural meaning to that. But I mean, like, even if it's just what you're saying, that's, like, kind of a funny bit.
Because it was done by Heihachi, who was, like, who was the more deliberate jokester.
Yeah.
Which, like, when he died, they were like, the hard times have just begun, and he was the treasure that was supposed to be there, and I was like, ugh. I was a little confused at what killed him for a little bit, until they were like, until they mentioned way later that people have muskets. And then I was like, oh, was he shot with a musket? Oh, okay. I thought because he just kind of went, and fell over, and I was like, oh, did someone, like, throw a Q-tip at him, and that's what killed him in the stage violence? But then it's oh, someone shot him with a musket. But also, they were going into the bandit camp. How did the bandits just not kill them? Because there was supposed to be, like, 40 of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess just because it was, like, chaotic and they're trying to save their own fort or something, but... it does seem like weird that they don't get chased through the forest by a shitload of angry bandits.
Like Kikuchio does when he pretends to be a bandit. That scene also made me laugh when he sits down next to the dude. And then the guy realizes that it's one of the samurai, and he's like, oh, God.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Ugh. Just a really good movie.
Indeed.
Do you have anything else you wanted to say? I'm sure you did, because you normally make lists. Just that.
Yeah, I had a couple of interesting facts. Most of them are about, like, what a horrifying nightmare the movie was to shoot. Yeah, I guess it. So this movie was being shot at the same time as Godzilla. And this movie went over it, like, ultimately the amount that it went over its budget was 4 times its original budget. And so they, like, tried to pull the plug on it multiple times because between the 2 movies they were about to go bankrupt.
Oh,
so
damn.
like, yeah, we're lucky that Kurosawa was good at getting in there and convincing them to keep putting more money in. The bandit fort scene is kind of a interesting level of horrific.
Uh-oh.
Well, I guess, like, they had needed to have, for obvious reasons, they needed to have a fire truck there when they did that shoot. But I guess all of the fire trucks were out fighting actual fires the day they'd planned to do the shooting. And so while they were waiting for them, they decided to just dump a bunch of gasoline on it in order to try and make sure that it burned. And by the time that a fire truck got there, there was enough gasoline that it just like went way the hell up immediately. And so like the structure almost fell on one of the actors at one point. And I guess like by the end of the day, after the shooting was done, it was so stressful that Kurosawa was like crying while the firefighters extinguished the fires. Because I mean, like, if that scene hadn't, like, there's no way they could have reshot that when they're like already about to have the plug pulled on them for budget, you know, like.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, maybe they could have rebuilt it because the mill that gets burned down, apparently they rebuilt and burnt down 3 times in order to get all of the footage that Kurosawa wanted.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But it sounds like maybe the worst clusterfuck of all was the final scene. Because it had originally been planned that they would shoot it in, I think it was like supposed to be shot during the summer, but it took them, they like kept going over time so much that by the time they were shooting it, it was the dead of winter. And so like it had snowed and they had to wet down the whole set in order to like melt the snow. But also it's supposed to be raining during that scene. So then they're like adding more water on. And like Kurosawa, you got to give it to him because he decided he would like stand there in that with all of the actors so that they weren't the only ones suffering. And I guess he like almost lost some toenails just from the damage that the cold was doing to his body.
Damn.
Yeah. So like, I feel like I can't blame them for not reshooting that scene where the guy gets butt poked and then falls off the.
Yeah, yep. That excuses that.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, I think we hit all my good facts.
Those are good facts.
Yeah.
But I recommend.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. Of the Kurosawa films that I've seen, I think I still like Ikaru better, but this was a good movie and definitely worth watching.
But all right, so that concludes the movie portion of this podcast. So now we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, the video game portion. I regret this background picture because it is so stark white. I feel it is hard to stare at on a Twitch screen. So I'm gonna find a different picture.
Okay.
While we talk, because it's hurting my eyes.
Well, that sounds like a good plan then. We wouldn't want to hurt anyone's eyes.
Take that, eyes.
Yeah. Oh, actually, someone's eyes did get injured during the filming of Seven Samurai.
I can see that.
Shino, the girl, the villager who the youngest samurai falls in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Kurosawa wanted there to be like a real sparkle in her eyes during the love scene.
No.
And the way that they did that was by reflecting light into her eyes, and yeah, it caused her like permanent eye damage.
Damn it.
Yep.
Kurosawa, you mad genius.
It was a different time for movies, I think. I feel like a lot of the times when you go back and do research on old movies, you find out some just like horrible things happened on sets.
You are very much correct.
I guess you don't even have to go that far back in time, because like Kubrick definitely did some horrifying things to his actors too.
There we go. That's a little better.
A little less eye-hurty now.
I think so. It's not just glaring stark white, and now there's not just white blaring onto the side of my face.
Well, that's good then.
But for the video game portion, we were going to try to do some actual work.
Yeah.
On stream. Whoa. On stream.
Because, yep, we felt like watching work. That's what people come to Twitch for, right? You
Yep.
want to watch someone do some work.
Well, they're not going to be coming here to watch Ninja anymore.
I heard about that. He's leaving for another platform, and his #1 spot is up for any channel.
Yep. They've already
Wow.
revoked his partner status.
Oh shit!
Yep.
I guess that makes sense. Like, him leaving has to be such a fuck you to Twitch.
And like when I was searching for Ninja's channel, like before, if I'd put NI like into search Ninjas, like the first thing that pops up. Now if
Yeah.
I type in Ninja, it doesn't even bring up like us like a Twitch streamer until you hit enter, and then it'll begrudgingly pull him up.
That would be really funny if they, since presumably the Twitch platform will now have the username Ninja Free, if they like used that username themselves and just like made the shittiest channel possible.
That would be pretty funny. But yeah, so much like Ninja, this segue isn't going anywhere. What am I talking about? Sorry, I was getting distracted with changing the font color on this thing so that way it'd be viewable again. Yay.
Yeah.
Robert and I have been knocking around some ideas for an
Yeah.
RPG Maker game, and we were just going to kind of talk about some ideas and invite any input, criticism,
Yeah.
suggestions. Oh, shit. From the audience.
We like good ideas and also bad ideas, so get them out there.
Because I will say personally, making a video game has been a dream of mine since the earliest idea I ever had for a video game was when I was 8. And it was after I played Smash Brothers. It's like, what if I made a Smash Brothers game that wasn't a fighting game, but was like all the Nintendo characters on a big adventure with like another character who's like a big fan of the Nintendo characters. And then Square Enix Thought Detection van drove by, sucked that all up, and then drove to Disney and were like, hey, what about that with Disney characters? And that's where Kingdom Hearts came from. My brain made Kingdom Hearts. So
Indeed it did.
so that weird, stupid Nintendo idea is still in my brain, and the one day Nintendo's like, fuck it, we don't care about anything anymore, and is just looking for someone to make their next big thing. It's
All
not
they
me,
need
but
is
I'll
a
be
time
there
machine
too.
so they can go and find 8-year-old you.
Oh man, I would be less fat, and that would be awesome. But so, and then before doing Twitch, Will and I, and then some other people started a small company, Matic, to actually make a video game, and we've been working on and off on it. But we came to learn that an engineer, another engineer, an English major, and then a lifeguard don't know how to make video games very well.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, I've been starting and never finishing RPG Maker games for a very long time now. So that's like, making a game is definitely something that I've always wanted to do too. I'm just very bad at writing manageably sized projects.
So, with our unfulfilled ambitions combined,
Yes.
we are going to try to make sort of like a short RPG Maker style game with no RPG elements. More of like an adventure game. So, that's what we're
Yeah.
going to talk about for like the next 7 to 40 minutes, depending on how interested we are.
I think we'll have a good conversation.
I hope so. But the idea we had, which I am tentatively calling Life in Box because it's like a weird and obscure enough game that I think if people saw that, be like, what is this? And then they'd click on it. Rather than, woo, spooky museum adventures. Although, I don't know, some people might click on that. Of a game with the idea of taking an environment that the player gets hopefully eventually accustomed to and then changing it. to a way that makes the environment itself like it's. This is I would call a horror game, more of like a psychological game. Oh my god, I'm setting myself up for failure.
We got this.
Sort of like I don't know how familiar you are with this. Have you played any Silent Hill games?
I've played part of 2, and then I played all of Homecoming.
That is unfortunate.
Yep. Yeah, my copy of 2 was like the version that they'd made. I think they made like a port for Xbox, but I was playing it on Xbox 360, and you could like patch it to play that game. But my copy, I guess, had like a scratch or something, and it kept crashing on me, and I gave up and stopped playing it. But I was liking it a lot while I played it. And then, yeah, the only one I was ever able to get a working copy of was Homecoming, which I enjoyed playing when I played it.
It's
I don't think
fine.
It's, a great
it's
game,
just
but
not a
yeah.
good Silent Hill game.
Yep.
My experience with Silent Hill 2 was my bus driver letting me borrow his copy when I was in 10th grade.
That's pretty awesome.
And I was like, this is a cool game, and Jared was a cool bus driver. But the one specifically I wanted to bring up, which I'm guessing you don't have a lot of experience with, it is The Room.
Correct. Yeah, I have no experience at all with that one.
It is probably the shittiest of the good ones. But I'm sorry, were you going to say something else?
I remembered that we'd also played the one that was supposed to be like a teaser for the one that was going to happen on PlayStation before Konami fucked over
Kojima.
that guy, Kojima. Yeah.
Well, get ready, because when we go and visit Kyle, we're going to make Will play that game on stream.
Do you still have it on your PlayStation?
Kyle does.
Okay, awesome.
So we're going to make him do that, and he's going to spook it up and love it.
That'll be a lot of fun.
But how The Room works is you spend a decent amount of time actually in the room, which is sort of just this apartment you're actually trapped in.
Mm-hmm.
And how it works is for like about 2/3 of the game, your room is like a safe haven where nothing bad can really happen to you unless you do certain things in like the outworld. You can take a piss, you can store your inventory, you can check messages, but nothing is actively there to murder you. But as the game goes on and hits that 2/3 mark, the game starts taking the safety of that room away from you, and stuff starts happening in it where it's not safe anymore. So it changes that feeling of like, oh god. Because it used to be, when I'm in Silent Hill, actually, I don't even know if you even go to Silent Hill. You just go to a spooky town. That's where the monsters are. And then after that, you get to come home, kick up your feet, have a cup of coffee. And also, the room part is in first person, as opposed to third person. But then, as the game goes on, the first person spookums start happening in the room, and you just have nothing left by the end.
And the worst monster of all is Tommy Wiseau.
True. What a... Hi, Mark. I would have loved that if Mark would have jumped into the chat just then.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
So whereas Silent Hill has like 10 hours to build that up, we won't have that same amount of time. I wanted to have that same sort of thing, but kind of on fast forward, where you realize there's something up with the room, but hopefully like within the first 10 minutes of playing, the player kind of will get a feel for like what the room that you're in is supposed to be, just kind of solving logic puzzles.
Yeah.
I guess I should say before that, the idea for the game in and of itself is you are just this nameless nobody person who wakes up in this almost clinically sterile room with a bed and then like a computer terminal with an AI in it that is like what's the word I'm trying to say? It's like not self-aware. It's alive and it's talking to you.
Sentient?
Sentient, that's what I was looking for, yes. And imagine GLaDOS, but like way less passive-aggressive. And you don't know why you're there, but you know that while you're in this room, the box, your job is to kind of solve puzzles with the promised release of like, once you've solved enough puzzles, this experiment that perhaps you've signed up for without your knowledge I want to keep the background of why you're in the room purposely vague, because that way the people can write their own stories.
Yeah.
Is you get to leave. Oh, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I was gonna say, like, I like that too. I had thought like it would be good for us at least to have some ideas about like why it is, and then we can give hints. But yeah, I definitely agree that like explicitly saying here's what's going on kind of ruins some of the fun.
So like when it starts, the computer's like, hey, just solve these simple puzzles. So we might have something as simple as like one of the, like, you get up, you do the puzzle, you go to bed, you wake up, there's a new puzzle. That's sort of like the loop at the start of the game. Maybe we'll have something as simple as like a math problem, and you just pick from a multiple choice. What is 2 times 4? And you're like, 17. And then they're like, no, try it again. You wake up, go to bed, then it's like, hey, select these cups in order from what is smallest to largest. Almost mundane things. And then maybe like 5 to 10 minutes in, hopefully we can keep them interested by having like a good story and interesting banter with the robot. Oh, I forgot to mention is that one thing that will happen is as you do these puzzles, as a reward... it's Fox Pixar again. What do I think of Yogi Bear? Yogi Bear is okay still. We haven't forgotten you.
Yeah, we remember.
We remember everything. I have your Yogi Bear poster picture saved on my computer in a temp file, and I was like, oh yeah.
And it haunts your nightmares every night?
It still haunts my nightmares, the burnt plastic nightmares of my dreamscape. Is as your character does these mundane quests, as reward, this computer, which we're still trying to work out a cool name for it. I'd like, if we could, to like come up with a name that sounds like an acronym, and then as you talk to him, it's revealed like, no, it's not an acronym, it's just my name. As like a joke. Is he'll unlock other portions of the room, like basically little offshoots, like a bathroom or a closet, just little areas that have maybe 1 or 2 little interactable things that's like, oh, okay, whatever. And then you've unlocked the whole little area, and that's where the whole game will take place, is in this room. Any thoughts on the... I haven't seen the movie. Are you like a weird bot that works for the movie company? I know what film you're talking about. Is one day after you do like a logic puzzle, you go to bed, you wake up, suddenly you're in a Salem witch trial-esque environment where there's just also people in your room, and they're not surprised where they are, they're not surprised that you're there, and you're just put in this situation where you have to find who among them is possibly a witch and will be burned at the stake. So it's this escalation from like goofy puzzle to like, oh, moral implication problems.
Yeah.
And then as you solve those, they'll just keep getting weirder. Like we had one where you're in space, one where you're on like a Zeppelin that's in the middle of a war and it's bombing possible like civilian encampments. And you're just like having to deal with these, and then at the same time the robot's going nuts and you're just like, what's going on? But no one's telling you anything. And then the game ends. So that's sort of the skeleton of it, and we're trying to work out some details here, and we'd love any input as we go on. So I'm sure you've been thinking of some stuff, Robert. What have you got for the bucket?
So I kind of like would say I broke down my ideas into 2 categories. One of which is like larger ideas about like maybe here's why the computer is doing what it's doing, and then like those are things that you can write around a little bit. And then also some kind of like smaller kind of the like moral implication scenarios that the computer might run you through. Mm-hmm. So I guess if we want to start at like big computer ideas first.
That sounds good, and we'll work our way down.
Okay. So one of the ideas that I had is based on the idea or the way that we currently program AIs. Do you know a lot about like how you train an AI to do things?
I don't know a lot about most things.
So it's actually like kind of an interesting process, and there's a video that a YouTuber named CGP Grey did on it that's a really great video. But basically you can't teach a computer how to do things. But what you can do is build a new you can build a new program that knows how to do things. And the thing is, we just like don't understand a lot of the minutia, especially with some of the really advanced and weird algorithmic AIs. Like, for example, the AI that YouTube uses to like select which video it shows you next. The people who work on it don't completely understand how it works. And the reason is that the way that AIs like that are made is that instead of making an AI, you make one AI that makes other AIs, and then you have a different AI that has a test. So the AI that makes other AIs makes a bunch of AIs, and then it sends them to the testing one, and the testing one tests all of the AIs and determines which of them are best at completing the task that they want it to complete. And then after you find out which one is best, its design is sent back to the designer AI, which programs a bunch of AIs based off of that. And then you keep repeating that process over and over.
All right. So I have a question for you before we go any further. Is because this just gave me a bunch of ideas. I want to see if we've kind of clicked on the same wavelength. Is your idea about having something to do with having multiple AIs you can interact with as part of the testing thing? Like smaller pieces of a larger AI?
It wasn't that.
Dang it.
I definitely think that's an interesting idea too, though. I mean, there's lots of ideas that we can explore, and I honestly kind of like the idea of like maybe even writing with multiple ideas of the reality in mind, so that what the actual truth is kind of indiscernible. But I feel like that's not something you would like as much. But maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. I will see how it's done. I'm up for whatever. I think we
Okay.
lost Fox Pixar.
Yeah, he's really only here for that Yogi Bear. If we were making a Yogi Bear game, he'd be on board.
We wouldn't even have to buy the license. It's just
Yeah.
it's just there. You can just pick it up and do whatever you want with it.
Okay. But
Okay.
so my idea was that the reason that the computer is running you through these scenarios is one of two things. Either you are a human and it's put you in these scenarios to observe what you do so that it can create the test that it will use to make AIs that can convincingly pass as humans.
Damn it.
The
that's
other
really good.
idea is that you're not actually a human. You're one of the AIs, and you are getting tested to see how much you perform like an actual human.
Those are both really good. That's stupid. Also, these are original characters. Do not steal internet. Okay. Those are really good.
Yeah.
All right.
So I had one other idea that I'd written that could be like the reasoning behind what the AI or why the AI is doing what it's doing, which is that like something that I've heard people who, so like there is, I think, a genuine concern about the idea of like if you developed an actual artificial intelligence, how powerful that could be. Like if there was a thing that had human will but could also move freely through the internet, like that thing could just rule the world. There isn't much humans could do about it. And so people who work on AIs like that, one of the things that they recommend is the idea that you would build that AI in a contained space. That like it literally cannot get to the internet from inside of that contained space. And so I feel like you're guessing my idea on this one, which is that you were like a researcher or something, and maybe like the room that you do the research in has like hollow panels or something on the floor, and somehow the computer has caused you to lose your memory and is trying to trick you into helping it escape.
That idea is actually in something that I've seen, and I can't remember now that you've said that last one. I can't remember what it is, but yes, it's maybe not escaping, but it's, oh shit, what was that actually? It was like, it's an indie game that I think I saw like on maybe Markiplier's channel one time, where it's the twist is the AI that has been helping you in the facility the whole time is the reason you're fucked up, and it's trying basically to get you to,
Gotcha. So someone beat us to that one.
Yes, I do like that idea though, but as just a kind of little offshoot. Oh, we've lost everyone now. It's back to the original 3. No one gives a shit about our ideas. So you brought up the idea of multiple AIs as just me throwing this to the sounding board of Robert, is to kind of give a little more like pizzazz to the other rooms is within your main room, is maybe all the little extra rooms have those extra sub AIs in them that are running, and then when it gets to the point of like solving the big like moral questions, each of the AIs in each of the room is trying to figure out their own answer so that way they get to keep living.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
So they're like, you, even if you're wrong, you should pick my thing because I'll get to keep living and I can give you a benefit.
Yeah. Well, and like if we're doing Salem witch trial type things or like trolley problem type things, that adds like another level of like importance to those choices.
And then like the main computer that's like, I don't really know what's going on with all those little pieces. Are you doing this right? And I don't know. That was just something I was thinking about. But I also really like the idea that it's trying to learn stuff. And we could integrate, I think, your first idea and my idea together.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, the idea that it's watching you to see how a human reacts to various stimulus so it can program a better test, and that it's testing a bunch of AIs on a human to see how they react to it.
This is getting Metal Gear Solid 2 as fuck. Have you played Metal Gear Solid 2?
I've never played any of them. I feel like we've had this conversation before because every time I say that, you're like,
yeah, I mean, that's still there.
yeah.
You can play 2 on your computer. There's a PC version of it. Yeah. That's very much like a thing that happens in that game is AI testing people to use their reactions to build better AI.
Yeah.
Alright. Look at this. We're just...
Okay, but yeah. So I had like an idea for something that could at least play into the way that you would name a game to maybe like hint at that. Which is, do you know a lot about like why CAPTCHA tests work the way that they do?
I don't know what you mean by a lot, but what?
Well, so like when you look at a CAPTCHA today, it's always like pictures of various things on a street, right?
Yeah. And
the reason that they are all that is that they're using that information to program self-driving cars. And so my idea was like you could use the name CAPTCHA somewhere in the title to kind of hint like this is that same thing. This is a computer using the responses of a human to program a test in order to program a robot.
So did you have a title in mind?
I didn't have a specific title with that. I just thought like that's like a word that you could use in the title that would like, and I mean maybe you even just call it like CAPTCHA test or something, but maybe that's like too
that might be a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
Maybe we can like
oh, you could do like oh, what? Okay, so like
all right.
What if I remember you'd said that you liked the idea that the AI had a name that was just looked like a
like it looks like it's an anagram, not an anagram. It looks like it's a. Oh my goodness, what is that term called?
Why did that happen to both of us? Why can't we remember this normal word? But yeah, you could name it like Cat or something.
I was
just
say,
like
if we wanted to use it. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say we could, what?
I don't know.
I don't mind doing that. Maybe if we can make an anagram of CAPTCHA and turn that into a word.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it. I think if we use CAPTCHA anywhere blatantly, then people smart brain people.
Obvious.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, that was just like an idea that I had. I did not have my heart at all set on that idea, so you don't have to.
I guess I had never heard that because, like, when I worked for Mechanical Turk, I was making captchas for like
Yeah.
all day. It's bothering the shit out of me. I can't remember what that word's called. For when a word is made up of a whole bunch of other words, like it's not anagram.
Acronym.
Acronym. There we go. Word power. I'm glad Fox Pixar left. I would have been embarrassed. He would have been like, these idiots. They're
Why
not
are
even,
they talking about this and not the Yogi Bear movie?
they're not even mentally old enough to understand the complexities and the minutia of the Yogi Bear franchise and the extended lore
Yeah.
universe. The YBCU.
Okay. But so then, do you want to hear some of my like smaller ideas?
No,
No.
we're done. Yeah, yes, I want to hear your other ideas.
Okay. So one idea that I'd had is just like a brief thing that could happen at the start of the game,
Mm-hmm.
where the robot would like tell you that you have amnesia and that's why you can't remember anything, and it would ask you if you remembered your name, and then you could like pull up a little thing where the player could enter their name, but then when they entered it, the robot would just be like, "That's a really dumb name. That's not your name. Maybe I'll tell you your name sometime if I feel like it," or something just like passive aggressive like that.
I see someone has played the original Deus Ex.
I haven't actually.
That's what they do with that one.
Oh.
Like, you pick a name like, that's stupid, and then later they're like, because then you learn your name's J.C. Denton, they're like, why did you try to fill out your name as Spurgboard? That's just a famous moment from the opening of that game.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's not a bad game to throw a reference at, though.
Hey, yeah, I'm just saying
Yeah,
it's what I
yeah.
didn't want.
I did have one idea that was explicitly a reference to both Blade Runner and Can Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is that at one point in the game, someone would give you a calfskin wallet.
That sounds good. I would be up for that.
Yeah.
Because when you were asking, when someone was asking questions in Twitch chat the other day, I was like, is this the thing? And then that person was like, the Voight comp test. And I was like, oh my god. That person.
Yeah, someone might have been reading Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep at that time.
Gotcha. Maybe one day they'll finish it and think it's a good book.
They did finish it, and they do think it's a really good book. They
Oh.
liked it a lot.
How do you know they did this? Because I know you said you just finished it.
Oh, just a feeling I have. I have confidence in it.
It's all right. But yeah, I would be up for fitting as many references to things as we can. I love doing that. As long
Awesome.
as it's not like finding a note on a table that says the cake is a lie, and then you're just like,
Yeah. Not like, yeah. Yeah, they have to be like cleverly done.
Oh, so I was gonna say, I just remember when I was working, like I told you, like last time we were podcasting about like my dream horror game that's like in the weird town where it's all like that. Is I just remember sitting down for like 2 days and just coming up with as many references to survival horror games that I could fit into other ones, and I was just making myself chuckle at how stupid I was. I mean, I thought I was being clever, but I'm sure if I saw myself in third person doing that, I'd be like, what a doofus. So yeah, you'll have to come up with a bunch of Star Trek references that true Trekkies would understand, that aren't
Excellent.
just super random. That's like, no.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'll make sure to base one of the AIs on the doctor from Voyager, who was an AI.
yep. What was his name in the show?
He actually doesn't have a name in the show.
Oh, was he
he
just
like,
called the Doctor?
yeah, he gets a couple of names over time that he'll like use sometimes. Like he gets named Schmolus at one point. I think there's like one episode where he picks a name for himself, but then like it gets too real for him, so he quits at the end of that episode.
Wait, it gets too real?
Like, I don't know, I don't remember exactly what happens, but like that's an episode that's about him, and he like meets and falls in love with a character in that episode, and she calls him by that name, and then like she goes away and he'll never see her again,
Oh,
and he's like, that name is too painful a memory now. At least
okay.
that's my recollection.
That's way less interesting than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was like the true reality of having a name and just being like, the government knows who I am now. Or getting really into like old fantasy where it's like once you know someone's true name, you have absolute power over them.
Yeah.
But
Um,
I didn't
wanna
know if
hear
you had anything
more?
else.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple more scenarios.
Keep going. That's all I had to
All
say
right.
about that.
So, one that I had is actually an idea that I lifted from Kiki's delivery service of
Oh,
a scene
boy.
that I felt like we could do an interesting version of, which is there's a scene in the movie where she like helps this grandmother make like a cake for her grandchild because she can't be there for the grandchild's birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's a huge pain in the ass, and then Kiki has to like fly through a storm and like finally gets to the door, and then the like grandchild is just kind of an ungrateful little shit about it. And I guess I liked the idea of like doing a scene where like one of the rooms that would open up to you at one point would be a kitchen. I have another scene written that might involve a kitchen also.
Oh.
And we have set pieces for that, so that's super easy to do.
Huh.
Or tile sets that are like kitchen tile sets.
Gotcha.
But I liked the idea that like your puzzle that day would be like you go into the kitchen and there's this like doddering old person in there who convinces you to help them make something for their grandchild, and then you like have to deliver it. And I had thought like maybe an interesting thing to do to just like emphasize how little the computer understood maybe some of the logic, or at least like, or maybe like how much the computer was willing to twist like the weirdness of the world. Was like when you go to deliver it, you'd open a door and then go into the like Zeppelin scene that you hinted about or something like that. So like you go to deliver the cake, and on the way you're like in a Zeppelin that's bombing people and have to make some weird moral decision, and then they like drop you off at the house and you're like, this has been a long day, and then like the kid is just an ungrateful little shit, and you have to choose like, am I just gonna be polite here, or am I gonna tell this kid off?
That could be pretty good. I like that. Because like if the Zeppelin thing is interesting enough, hopefully like you'll even forget that you have the cake to deliver.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, hey. Because when you were saying it, well, how I was imagining the thing already is just the child's house just being one of the other sub-rooms, like, that you could see. But then you're like, no, you go into the Zeppelin room, and then you're just... Although, for it to work, I think for the rules of the thing, because scene transitions always happen when you go to bed, is
Yeah.
maybe you finish the cake and you put it on your nightstand or whatever, and that's really when you wake up, go to deliver the cake. And then you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go bring the cake, but now you're on the Zeppelin with a cake, and you're like,
Gotcha.
shit.
I hadn't realized that. I had assumed like scene transitions could happen while you're moving from one room to another, but I guess not.
Because I guess because I wanted it to be like that's the rule that is established, is that stuff will change when you go to bed. So maybe the idea of going to bed will be something either the player looks forward to doing, or is someone like, I'm actually nervous about what could be happening when I go to bed. How much
Yeah.
worse is it going to be when I wake up? But if we wanted to like start experimenting with, because I don't actually know how transitions work in RPG Maker, when you go into a sub room, like when you go, would they have to happen like through a loading screen, or can they be like seamless? Because I imagine
I
all
mean,
of
they
them.
happen in different rooms, but RPG Maker doesn't usually have loading time.
Okay.
So like you definitely could. It would feel pretty seamless. Like the way that you transition, if you're doing it where it's only where you go to bed, basically you'd have the player like go up to the bed, and then the screen would just go black,
Mm-hmm.
and you would secretly move them to another room while the screen was black, and then fade it back in.
Gotcha. Like that's what I assumed.
Yeah.
My hope was that all of the sub rooms would be like within the same scene all of the time, so that way when you try to go to like the kitchen, it wouldn't have to do a black and then now you're in the kitchen. It would just be you get to walk into the kitchen. But if that doesn't work technically, then it's not going to break my heart. I just kind of wanted it to be you can kind of see everything all the time, so you're like, this is fine. And then when it starts getting weird, you're like, we take stuff away.
Like, you're saying you can see all of the rooms all the time?
I guess I'm trying to, like, how I was picturing it was kind of like the old Final Fantasies where, like, even though you're in a different room, you can see into the other room.
Yeah. That's definitely doable. If that's the way it is, though, then yeah, you probably do have to like only do scene transitions when people are going to bed. I will say I usually don't make games where you can see all of the rooms at once, partially just because the way the door animations work in RPG Maker tends to look kind of wonky. If you can see both rooms at once, like they just look better if there's a fade in and out between when you're like going through a door. I mean, you can get around it in ways where like once you open up a room, it's just like the wall has pulled back, and so there's just like a hole in the wall there that you walk through.
That's actually exactly what I thought it would be.
Okay, there's no doors at all.
There's no doors.
Okay.
I wanted it to feel like you're in a self-contained area all the time rather than like you're moving through undefined space necessarily to get to another room. Even though like we know, I just went through this one room, but having that black cut does kind of create a disconnect from all the parts of it. Like you're moving through multiple different parts of a larger thing rather than just being in the larger thing all the time.
Yeah.
But if it
the one other like kind of nice thing about having multiple rooms is that like one of the things that can sometimes make RPG Maker a little glitchy is if you have too many events in one room.
Okay.
I mean, that's definitely something that we can build around, though, especially if we just make it be like, if we have a limited number of days and just have a completely different room for each day, that's pretty doable.
Gotcha. I mean, if we have to do different rooms, that's fine. It was just the original idea was to try to keep it as a cohesive whole that you're just moving around that's just changing.
Yeah, well, I think what we should do is just like once we start writing the specifics and have written a lot of that, then we can make an evaluation about like, does this game work better? Like, is this a game that we can reasonably make where we're not going to crash it with too many events? Having the whole room available where you can see all the rooms, or do we have to like separate the rooms for one another just for the sake of making it run well?
Gotcha. Yep. I think because that was like the other thing of just Dreams was making it so the only door you actually walk through in that game is the door to the exit. So that's the one door you get to do.
Gotcha.
And it's boop, the game's over. But as the one thing I wanted to sort of avoid were like the tricks of like impossible space in terms of like you walked or non-centrical, like non-Euclidean geometry, non-centrical geometry. Like I walked into this room, okay, I've walked back into this other room. Oh, now I'm on the third floor of the mansion.
Yeah.
Which a lot of horror games now do, and I don't know, a lot of them don't do it well.
So, but when it is done well, it's like kind of an interesting idea.
But I think in an RPG Maker, if you had to have that loading screen and you load into a new thing, you're just like, oh, okay, now I know going forward forever that there's a chance when this door loads, I'll just be in a new area. Because I'm trying to think of one that did it really well. Like Layers of Fear did it badly. Like it was just all the time. Like it was like, all right, I went to this room, up, I came out to the hallway, never mind, I'm in the children's base. Like it just became a thing of like, I don't know where the fuck I'm going. This door will take me somewhere.
Oh, I guess what you're saying is that magic trick works a lot better when there's no cut.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Or it just has to be like paced really well. Like
Hmm.
there was some game, I can't remember what it was. I just remember you're sprinting in first person and you're running towards a room, and at first the door is open, so you can look into that room as you're sprinting towards it, and you know, like, whatever, it's like the next room in the hall, but then the door shuts, and then when you sprint through it and blow the door open, you've sprinted into an area that is not logically connected to the door.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh shit, that happened really fast, and it like startled you.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I
don't know.
guess you could like paste something like that in RPG Maker by like having say 4 interconnected rooms and demonstrating to the player that like you can run between all of these and they run in a circle, but then like randomly one of those changes and then they're like, "Oh, this is not what I was expecting to walk into."
It's just something we have to be careful with, so not
Yeah.
to cheapen it, because it's something that can be cheapy deepy.
Well, if we can see all the rooms at once, then it's not a concern for this game. But
Yep. But that's the thing. But if because you know more about programming in that than I do, so if you're like, it's more than likely going to have to be separate rooms.
I think it's very realistic that we can write it all in one.
Yay!
I think as long as we're not getting super crazy, it'll be fine.
Do they have like sort of like a fog of warish thing where you can only see a certain distance away from your character, and then the
So
rest?
that's not built into the base game, but I'm sure that there are plugins that do that. We'd have to find one where they're allowing you to use it for game releases.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like we haven't even thought about like if we finish this game, what comes after that. I feel like as a first game, I don't know, I kind of like the idea of like having a first game that you just let people play, just because like even if you're giving it away for free, it's hard to get an audience, but like maybe if you hit the right note
Mm-hmm.
with like your free thing, then people are interested in your next release.
Yep. And hopefully this Twitch thing will help with marketing a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fine. Because the only other thing I was thinking is maybe to kind of combat having all the rooms open is like at a certain space. I know I've seen RPG makers sort of do this, so it has to exist where like at a certain distance, the things look like shadows basically until you
Yeah.
like get close, and then it's like it's a person. That we could do stuff like that where it's like, oh, like you're standing in the main room where the bed is, and you're looking over to where the kitchen is, and your character can tell that there are like people in there, but you can't really tell what they look like or what they are from a distance until you move up to them.
Yeah.
So we could have things where it's, oh, there's people moving in there, and then you walk in and it's just 3 chairs that have been stationary, and you're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. I'm sure there is a way that you could do that. I don't know it personally. I will say like plugins are another thing where like if you have a lot of them going on, that can create instability. But
I
yeah.
could see that being a problem. But mostly the meat of the game will just come from offering, hopefully, like harrowing choices that people may have not thought about before and be like, oh,
Yeah.
I feel weird that I did this.
Man. Yeah, I would say like a couple of my scenarios I think maybe actually work better with the like open room setup. So
'Cause I just wanted to be like, it's all part of the box.
yeah.
The box has gotten bigger, but you're still trapped in it.
Hmm.
It's the illusion of freedom, because to be honest, that box was always that size. You just got to play in one little part of it, and now it's like, oh, now you get this other part. Because maybe we even do it where we don't open it up all the way before the world starts like changing into weird shit. So that way, by the end, when we do the final one, there's way more space to play around in, and you're just like, oh, I have all these rooms and all these AIs to talk to.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think having this talk, I feel much better about like what we're doing.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a good project. I'm very excited for it.
I don't know how I'm going to contribute to it in terms of building it, though.
I mean, that's all right. Like, I don't mind. Like I've said before, my big problem has always been the writing element. Like,
That was a weird
I-
noise.
I just don't know how to write a complete story and like put that all together, and that's why my projects always fall apart, is because I get to a certain point and I'm like, what the future of this is so vague to me that I don't even know what my next step is going to be.
Gotcha.
So like having you here, who I would say you have more experience than me writing, and you've like actually finished some things, is a really valuable asset.
Swallow available on Kindle on Amazon. Man, that page has gotten absolutely zero traffic.
Yeah.
There have been 2 review sites that promised reviews for that over a year ago that still haven't given me one.
Oh.
I'm just like, oh. And L. Stysic, once again, being the only review on that. So once again, he's just crushing it.
He may not be the #1 donor this week, but he's done something in his life.
That's fine. We're almost halfway to getting our first payout,
Nice.
and I'm excited. We just need to get 3 more subscribers, and then I guess $9 more in bits, and then we'll drink that ranch.
Yes, that's what I want.
And I guess like the longer we wait, the older that ranch gets. So it's just
That's true.
so it'll get to a point where if it's toxic, we can't do it because then it would be violating TOS.
Yeah.
But who knows? In the mad wild west that is Ninja-less Twitch, maybe they won't even care if we
Maybe so.
give Will botulism for the views.
That could be the case.
One of the things I was thinking about was one of the like things your character had to deal with was the idea of being in a cannibal, like the problem is there's a cannibalistic society,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no option to get them to not eat people, but it's getting them to figure out how they will approach eating people. Of like whether it's like some people are like, yeah, we should just be able to kill our neighbors and eat them. And then like some people are like, we should only be able to eat them if they've died of natural causes. And then some people are like, we should have a lottery, and then whoever loses, we eat them.
Yeah. Oh, and you're just like helping them pick the system by which they eat people.
Yep.
I like that. That's pretty fun. That's like a good scenario that just presents a bunch of fucked up choices.
Yeah. Because I guess that's what I want it to be. And then, like, there'll be some characters who are like, I ate my mom, and she didn't
Yeah.
taste very good. Like, where it's like, that's weird. And then, like, the robot, like, the main AI is just, who doesn't really, like, understand people, is just like, huh, I wonder if I would run more efficiently if I consumed one of my lesser AIs. And then, like, the other robots are like, oh god, he's gonna eat one of us. I do not wish to be consumed. Oh man, we're getting closer to 500 views.
Nice.
We're gonna have a little celebration party when we hit 1,000.
Yeah. Break out some champagne and
the
ranch
ranch.
for Will.
So, a champagne flute full of ranch.
There are ranch flavored sodas.
Oh yeah, yep.
They're supposed to be horrifically bad.
I mean, we could just go to what's that place called? I think it's Pops.
Yeah, I've been there.
And we get like the ham and gravy flavored sodas.
I got a coffee flavored soda when I went there. It was really disappointing.
Do you
Pretty
like
gross.
coffee?
I
I didn't think you
do
did.
like coffee, but I don't usually drink it because it upsets my stomach.
Mm.
So I always drink energy drinks, which do also upset my stomach, but less.
I
So
was gonna ask, like, do you still drink like a Monster a day?
I drink like a half a Monster a day, and then I put the other half in the fridge, and then
Okay.
sometimes I'll drink the other half when I come home in the evening, though. So
Okay. Maybe we
Varies
can
by
get
day.
Monster as a
Yeah.
thing. They have to be
Ninja's
somewhere
not
on
taking
Twitch.
your money.
What?
I said Ninja's not taking your money.
Well, he was taking
I
Red
guess you
Bull's
could take
money.
it on the other platform though. What?
He was taking Red Bull's money.
Yeah. Well, then he's definitely not taking their money. So give it to us.
Yep. We'll take that sweet Four Loco cash. Have you ever had one of those?
I had one of the like fake ones that came out after they got made illegal.
Fake ones.
Well, so like
Huh.
they still sell them, but they don't have the caffeine anymore. So like you can buy a Four Loco, but it's not actually what a Four Loco was back when that was a thing that people were talking about.
Yeah. Okay, I just meant like you bought Too Crazy
Four
or something.
Loko.
Yeah, something like that. Like my last experience with a Four Loco was when I worked at McDonald's, and one of like the new hires who was like a high school kid, and he was like, I'm pretty sure he was on drugs. He found an unopened Four Loco that someone had hid in the garbage can of the women's restroom,
As you do.
and then he just drank it while working.
As you do. If you're working at McDonald's.
And I guess the shift manager didn't know there was alcohol in it, so he didn't even like try to stop him.
That's pretty funny.
And then it wasn't until like way later that he's like, oh wait, those have alcohol in them, I shouldn't have done that.
But now it's too late.
It's too late. It's on Twitch now, just like the Yogi Bear film.
Yeah.
Like I just wondering if Fox Pixar forgot he had already come to our channel to do
Maybe.
this bit.
Did he follow us at some point in time?
No.
This is okay.
Because he came
just,
and he
like-
hosted us again, and then he started talking.
Well, weird.
So is he like trying to do like a YouTube prank show? I mean,
Maybe.
or a Twitch prank show. So I had, when I was trying to market some behind the scenes Twitchness and try to find other streamers that we would collab with, I found this one streamer named Sleepy Shredder. He's a pretty cool guy. He's also playing Kingdom Come. While I was watching him, some dude just popped into his stream and was like, hey, if you eat a spoonful of cinnamon right now, I'll donate $100.
Yeah, you got to be careful with those though, because people with like big donations like
Yeah.
that, if they're not in bits, people can do chargebacks.
That's why I was not planning to open up for donations until we were like partner, or I was more financially solvent. Because I was already like, I was getting ready to set that up, and people were like, yeah, they'll give you $1,000, and then they'll be like, no, I want it back.
Yeah. Or even they're like pranksters who have stolen a credit card, and so like what they're doing is making a bunch of huge donations with a stolen credit card because they enjoy like seeing that reaction. And then once the card gets reported as stolen, all of those donations get charged back.
That's why, like, I guess it wouldn't be really an issue if, like, you have that sent to a PayPal and you just let it sit in the PayPal until it gets charged back. Because I don't think PayPal does charge back charges. They just get rid of the money. But if you
Yeah,
put
I
that
know.
money in your bank, then that's when the problems happen.
Yeah.
One thing I saw a few different streamers do is for donations, they just have their Steam wish list.
Hmm.
And I was like, that could be cool because they can't take that game away from you.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe that's how we could get more games to play. Is just like, hey, if you like what we're doing. But although,
Send us a game and we're legally obligated to play it.
are you gonna get Garfield Kart 2?
I saw that was a thing. I do feel like that would be fun to play on stream.
I don't. If it's not a lot of money and it is multiplayer online, then maybe.
It is multiplayer online. I looked at it.
We're finally starting to. I think it's something to do with the longer our podcast goes. Like, it goes for a long time without any issues, and then near the end, it just starts dropping frames really bad.
It just gets tired.
I guess. Because, like, today I looked, when I was done streaming after, like, 5.5 hours of the second game I started playing, Kingdoms of Amalur, I was at something like 75 frames, and right now we're at 27,000 frames. So it's whatever we're doing with Discord.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So we're at, I guess, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we start rolling it up for right
I mean,
now?
I had more ideas,
Then
but
let's
we can
hear 'em.
talk about that another time if you want to.
I'm fine with some more ideas.
Okay.
I just
Um,
saw, because I thought you had to go to work tomorrow.
No, tomorrow's Friday. I don't
Yeah, that's
work
why
on
I was
Friday.
like, oh, wait a minute. I hope that means you'll stop. I hope that means someone will stop by for the Kingdoms of Amalur playthrough in the morning.
Someone almost always does.
All right. But anyway, so what are some of your other ideas? This has been cool. I'm
So,
excited to start writing.
One that I had was based kind of loosely on a real life experience of mine, which was that when I was a kid, we had this aunt who lives on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, one year we went up to her farm and she had a baby calf there named Peanut. And we got to, like, feed that calf and kind of pet it and stuff. And then the next year we came back
They ate it.
and we were eating a brisket. And my mom was like, hey, where's Peanut at? And my
Like,
aunt
on the
was
table.
like, yep, we ate Peanut. But I guess I liked the idea that, like, maybe the robot, you would, like, wake up one day and there's just, like, a cow wandering around. And you could even have to, like, the robot could even do stuff like instruct you to feed it, or I'm not entirely certain that we could do this, but I think I could program it to, like, poop randomly on the floor and you'd have to, like, pick up the poop or something. And so for, like, a couple of days you'd be taking care of the cow. But then one day, like, there's a couple of ways the scenario could resolve. One of which is just, like, one day you wake up and the cow is gone and the computer, like, gives you a meal and it's the cow. But the other is, like, maybe one day the computer is like, well, if you want to eat today, you're going to have to shove this cow into the Cow Killer 3000. Like, it's not going to be graphic on screen, but you have to make the choice to, like, kill the cow. Something like that. Or the other idea I'd had was, like, maybe there's two cows and, like, one of them is really annoying and it's the one that poops everywhere, and the other one, like, the computer lets you name it, but then it asks you which one you want to keep, but then it just, like, feeds you that one anyways or something.
I think of all of those, the first one where it just does it to you.
Yeah.
Because another part of, like, the loop I wanted to happen is after you do it, like, sort of like you're in a jail, someone comes by and slides your meal under the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, when you pick it up, it sort of just tells you what it is, so you have to eat it before you go to bed. And with zero fanfare, like, the cow will be missing, and then that day it's like, whoop, and then it's like, it's a hamburger, and you're like, ah. And then, like, I'm hoping that people will be like, I'm not going to eat it. And then the robot's like, you have to eat before you can go to bed. You have to eat it. You have to eat it.
That's pretty fun.
And you're just like, oh, shit. Because with the killing it to eat it, unless we have a survival mechanic, I feel a majority of people are like, fine, I just won't kill the cow. I don't have to eat to play this game.
Yeah.
And then for the second one, if we're making one of them the shitty cow, I feel like everyone... Unless we wanted to make the robot just an asshole and be like, oh, you picked to not kill the shitty one? Well, we killed the not shitty one anyway. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying.
I feel like that would... Because I don't want the people to hate the robot.
Okay.
Like, so... I think the first one where it's just like, what did you expect? It's a cow. We have to get the meat from something. I didn't do it to, like...
Yeah.
Whoa, that's super weird. We lost an error.
Huh.
We were at 7, like, warnings, and then it just dropped down to 6. Did it go back in time and put those frames back?
Probably.
Anyways, yeah, I really like that cow one. That one's good.
Yeah. I'd had, like, one other potential idea for that one, which is, like, at first, the player is, of course, like, refusing to kill the cow, but then, like, if they keep doing that, then maybe the computer presents them with, like, an AI character who's starving to death. And so then they have to like choose, well, am I going to kill the cow to like feed this character? But I don't
No,
know.
that'd be
You're
the,
probably right that just the simple "there's a burger one day" is the best version.
if we wanted to get like really weird with it, but it would mean like making a whole like different scenario is you have the cow and it's like you need to kill, like if you want food you have to kill the cow. I'm not going to kill the cow, so the cow like stays as a thing, but then like the cow starts killing people. Like the cow is a horrific monster. Like it'll just be like
Yeah.
in the kitchen and then around it will just be dead bodies, but it's still like pooping on the floor like it's nothing. And then you're
You
like,
could even do that as kind of like a slow build where like the shittiness of the cow as it becomes evil like ramps up. Like maybe one day you walk into the kitchen and the cow has eaten your meal, so you have to like eat the cow hay or something.
because one thing I wouldn't mind doing if we wanted to, like near the end, is like knuckle down and really start getting like fucking weird and have like terrifying like body horror.
Yeah.
Was we do the thing where it's like the cow, like the burger thing, and it's like, yep, we used all the parts we needed with no needless suffering or whatever, and then like later you're like in one of the rooms and then like suddenly just out from one of the other rooms you're not occupying is just the top, like the front part of the cow that's just dragging itself on its front hooves, and it just chases you around a little bit
That would be pretty fun and horrific.
until you run into another room and then it disappears.
Yeah.
But just like, oh god. Because I've seen, like, there was a period of time when I was watching Let's Plays online where I saw a decent amount of horror games in RPG Maker.
Yeah, it's
like,
definitely a thing that people do.
and I'm like, the fact that it is in, like, adorable pixel sprite stuff does make certain things, I think, even spookier.
Yeah.
Because I just remember one, I can't remember, I think it was called, like, The Witch's Mansion or something, where there's just a part where you walk into an art gallery and, like, a picture falls off the wall, and then out of the picture, like, hands come out, and then it's like the top half of a woman in the painting just starts dragging the painting towards you.
Mm.
And I was like, when I watched that, I kind of went, oh, that's spooky.
Yeah.
So you would be like, oh, they butchered the back half of this cow and has kept it alive.
Yeah.
Or if we didn't want to make
Or
it...
it could even be like you'd walk into a room and there's just like the cow in a tank there and it's like alive, but the back half of it is gone.
That, I think I was about to say is on the same line, is with being horrific without being like weird, is that the back half of the cow is missing and it's sort of bloody, but the rest of it's like hooked into a machine, is the cow is just still kind of there, just calmly grazing with its back half missing.
Oh, yeah.
So like it's on like a little patch of grass with like the Borg has hooked it up to its ass, and it's just like, I am this machine cow, which would go back to imagery that's sort of similar to I Have No Mouth, but I'm a Scream, where there's like horrific technomancy, but like that's just what the life of that is. So there like be people where like half of their face is like an Apple II computer and
Yeah.
that has been smashed, and they're just like, yeah, I tripped down the stairs today. And it's just like, So I don't know, we can get as weird as we want.
Awesome. Because my next idea is pretty weird.
All right, hit me with your best shot. Fire away.
All right. So this is the last idea that I came up with. And I guess I liked the idea that at one point in time, the scenario would be you're in the like world that the computer set up for you in the room is this kind of like society that has a god who they've trapped in a box, and like everyone in the society will like go to the box and talk to the god in the box for wisdom, but the god in the box is like always trying to convince people to let it out. So like you would go and talk to it and it would like try and tempt you into letting it out, and so but the villagers are all like, it's way too dangerous to let God out of that box because it's so much more powerful than us. And that would be the decision that you're making, is like, this god is promising me it's going to do a bunch of good shit if I let it out, but these villagers are saying it's pretty dangerous if we let it out. So what choice do you make?
Just not to like shit on your creativity. Did you get this idea like based off of anything? It just sounds very like Japanese folklore-y, like they capture a deity. I like the idea.
I've been thinking a little bit about like the Pandora story, but it's pretty different from the Pandora story, I think. I guess I had kind of written it while thinking about the other scenario that I had written, where the computer was trying to escape, and it's like a super powerful thing, and like in that version of the story, maybe you figure out what the computer is doing, and it tries to convince you, well, like, you should still let me out because look at human society. It's a horrific mess, but with the power of my brain and the internet, I can fix it. And so then that scenario would have been like kind of a metaphor or even just a test that the computer is doing to see, like, are you a person who might be willing to let God out of the box if it tempted you correctly? We're not doing that scenario anymore, so it doesn't fulfill that role.
I mean, it still
felt like
could
it's
if
an
that's what one of
interesting
the sub
scenario.
AI's goal is to get out. That
Yeah.
could still totally work. But what would be the resolutions for that story?
I hadn't really thought that far ahead. I'd only thought up to like you open the box. And like I don't know what you write, maybe even just like the character passes out after that and you wake up in bed the next day and have to wonder. I guess cuz I feel like, to me at least, the important part of that story is you having to think about the potential consequences of either action. It's not like what the actual resolution is.
What I just mean is like you have like the choice is to let him out or not let him out, correct?
The God, right?
Yes, the god, yeah.
Mhm.
How would
Yeah.
what in gameplay? What would be not letting him out of the box?
I guess you just like
Go back to bed.
go back to bed, yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm like. So gameplay wise, that whole scenario could be like, I guess we'd have to. The only thing I was worried about is that could be like really short unless we don't program it right. Unless we.
So I actually had one thought regarding this scenario when you were talking about the cannibal scenario,
Mm-hmm.
which is that like I could see a God in a box being a thing that you fit into the cannibal society. So like maybe after you figure out how to help them, or after you decide like what system they're going to use, then they're like, well, we're going to let you talk to God because you helped us out. And you go in there and God is like, yeah, what these people are doing is obviously fucked up.
So let
out
me
of
out
this
of the box.
and I will fix this. But all of them are like, we get that you're not super into cannibalism, but if you let that God out, it's going to be awful.
I feel that is setting up the. From a scenario thing is, I would say most quote unquote decent people are against cannibalism.
Yeah.
So I think that is setting the. I forget what the term is.
It puts too much benefit to the idea of releasing the God.
Yes, I forget what that term's called in game design. It's like you're not proposing an equal choice. It's like this, like the player thinks about it, like, oh, clearly, this.
I guess you could like give the player reason to think that the villagers had become cannibals because the God made them that way before. Before they got it into the box. And maybe that could even be like the lore of that world is like, these were normal people before, but then this God showed up and made them all cannibals because it's evil. And then they trapped it in the box and they're like, we don't really want to be cannibals, but we just are because this God in the box made us this way.
That's good. I like that. Was going to say
then you have to like question, like, are they telling the truth or is the God in the box telling the truth? But
okay. Because the other thing I was thinking of is if we wanted to have those as separate, is rather the two choices being let the God out and not let the God out. It's like the scenario could be set up as like whatever's holding the God is starting to break down the box. So it's either let the God out of the box or go collect the components just from around the room to build another box. So it forces you to go talk to other people, and then in those interactions to get the other pieces, maybe the God can whisper into your ear like, hey, I'm not bad, I'm good, and then you hear conflicting information from other people who are giving it to you.
And you could actually potentially work in a third choice there, where like in the process of finding the parts for the box, one of the villagers tells you, well, hey, there's also a way to kill this god. And so that could be a third resolution, is that you would choose to kill the god.
That works too. Is what my brain was picturing was letting the god out. Is all like my brain saw like just suddenly all the people are gone and it's like, and you're still like in the environment of that puzzle. Like you haven't been teleported back and you're just like, huh. And then you go and lay down and then just sometime later, there's just like horrific skeleton like ghost people just walking around carrying boxes that just flash randomly or something. So you're just like, oh, what the fuck happened to those people?
Yeah, that would be some great, like that would be a really good like horror moment for near the end of the game. I like that idea a lot.
Or like when you lay down in bed before you go to bed, there's just suddenly a ring of people, like horrific people, just standing around your bed, and then the lights cut out, and you're just like, oh shit. And like a big smile, just like a big toothy grin, just appears in the floor, and you're just like, oh fuck, what's in my room now?
Yeah.
But
I guess, okay. So one other idea that I'd had that was just like an aesthetic idea, and I definitely don't have my heart set on this, but it was just the thought I'd had, was that the floors in the rooms could always be the like that, you know, that like ultimate Kubrick room from the end of 2001. Like the rest of the room would always be decorated so that it fit in with the world, but for no apparent reason the floor was like always those weird tiles.
I mean, that is exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
Is that the middle room is always like your room and it never really changes, but like people can be in it. And then when you go out into the other rooms, that's when you're like stepping out into the other world. But yeah, it's funny you brought the Kubrick room is what I pictured as the room you're in, like because it has the prominent bed and the computer. So our brains kissed.
Yeah.
Nice. That's really weird that you also were like that. No, I don't like that.
I mean, in all fairness, we like started this conversation last week after having just discussed 2001: A Space Odyssey.
That is true. I'm not as clever as I think I is. But yeah, that's what I kind of wanted it to be, is that like the middle room almost never changes in terms of like overall look, just weird things will be in the room. Okay,
awesome.
So that way you never have to really redesign the tile set of the primary room.
Gotcha.
And then it's just I was thinking of like 5, so that way it's kind of almost looks like a human body, where it'd be like a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, and then like the torso is where you are at.
Oh, like 5 additional rooms?
Yeah, just... And like there wouldn't even some be rooms, they'd be just like a line almost. Like it wouldn't be a big expansive room, it would just be like a single whatever. That's what I was thinking about. That might be too much. But you just create the idea that you're trapped within yourself because it's a person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's my big genius idea for our previous horror game, Please Leave, was the final floor of the room was shaped like a uterus because it's actually all about giving life. And I was like, look how clever I am. Look at it.
Yeah, we can experiment. I'm not completely sure that like that will end up reading right or be like aesthetically appealing to look at, but we can try it.
Yeah, it might not necessarily it had to be. It was just that was kind of the general idea. Is there would be a room to the south and then 2 additional rooms to the left and right of the main room.
I do like the idea that there's something about the shape and positioning of the additional rooms that has some kind of like symbolic meaning to it.
But just a weird, heady game. Like I don't want to go up my own ass as hard as like the Talos Principle does, which is a good game, but it tries a little too hard in some parts about God and philosophy, and I was just like, yeah, I get it. You're the God in the machine. You are literally the Deus Ex Machina. That's the point. Ha 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 ha. Anything else?
I think that's all I had. What about you?
I mean, I've kind of said all the loose things I have. Like, I got more ideas talking to you.
Yeah.
Because we are at 2 hours, so I didn't know how much longer you wanted to go.
Gotcha.
Um, but yeah, just because I haven't really thought about big picture things. Because now that I think about it, we have the witch trial, the starship, the Zeppelin, the God in the box, the cannibalism one. Those are 5 big set things, and then
Yeah.
if we have the addition of the cow, and then the old lady,
Mm-hmm.
and then like a little part at the beginning with like the routine test that feels like a decent sized short game.
Yeah.
Because I imagine like
I would
each.
agree.
Oh, I forgot you have dogs living at your house.
Were they barking?
I just heard a
didn't
dog
hear
bark.
them.
Each one maybe takes about like 5 to 10 minutes to do if people are like walking around and touching everything and talking to everyone.
Yeah.
So all those together are about an hour. And then we can have like weird middle filler areas, and that might bump it up to like 2 hours, and that's about what we were looking for, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I feel like that's a pretty manageable size for a game. I feel like we could maybe write 1 or 2 more scenarios even if we
Mhm.
wanted to like flesh it out. But
yep. And then I think the finale of dealing with whatever we call this computer, like breaking down, needs to be what it is. And then that's the end of the game. And maybe giving the character a final choice of do they leave or stay in the bed.
yeah.
Do you leave the cave or do you stay in it? Because maybe like there's something going on outside of the room, and maybe staying, or maybe the computer tells you there is something going out of the room. So is it telling you that because it's feeling genuine concern for you, or it telling you that so it doesn't want you to leave because it's like your weird abusive significant other that loves you in its own terms and doesn't want you to go?
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird topics we can cover with this process, I think.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
And we'll become free millionaires because no one will
Yes.
pay. So I was thinking if we did it well enough, like charge like $2. But
Yeah.
that is a ways
I
away.
guess my thought is like part of the reason that you make a small game is just to like if you make something good and people try it, then like you have the clout so that when you make something that you're charging for,
Mm-hmm.
people are more willing to like shell out money.
Mm-hmm. But there's also just
Yeah.
a lot.
I guess the other thought I
free
had
ocean
was
is
like
deep.
we could do what you were saying, but then like do a cross promotion with the channel where like anyone who subscribes gets a free copy.
That also is a thing we could do. I don't know how we do that.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
sure
a
there's a
thing that would
way
be,
to
like,
do that.
Easy and manageable at first, but if we got to the point where we actually had a lot of subscribers, then it could get overwhelming.
But yeah, you'll have some stuff that we can just talk about off screen, so that way there's for the one person who has stuck with it the whole time, that way they can get some surprises when they eventually play this game.
Yeah.
So before we go, we need to work out what we're going to do for next time.
Yeah.
So I mentioned the Magnificent Seven. You didn't seem visually to be that interested in doing that.
I think that could be fun.
Oh, okay.
I'd be in for that. I was a little bit nervous about whether it was going to be super long just because we've done like 2 really long movies in a row, and I had been thinking like, man, I'd really like to do something just short and fun next time. But
Do you know any short fun movies?
well, the one that I had been thinking of is a movie that I know we've both already seen and talking about,
Is it
which was
Redline?
Redline.
Oh.
Yeah. But I definitely don't have my heart set on that. And I feel like The Magnificent Seven could be a good pick. I'd be happy to do that.
See, Redline is one I'd love to talk about once we have like more people
Yeah.
who then engage with us and be like, Redline's awesome.
Redline.
Machine Head. But yeah, if we want to do the Magnificent Seven,
Okay.
that way we could finally pretend to be like real critic people and be like, hey,
Yeah.
we are doing
Well,
actual analysis.
Yeah. And I personally really like the idea of like talking about films that are similar in juxtaposing them is pretty fun to me. So
Cool. So we got that down. We'll do the Magnificent Seven. So for video game stuff, did you have any ideas?
no.
Okay. The thing I was thinking about, just talking about, I know I don't necessarily like being negative all the time, although negative does garner more attention, was talking about either specific examples of or the problem with the concept as a whole, or maybe the not problem of it is moral choice systems in games, of how much they can help or hamper, and then
Yeah.
talk about some specific examples from that like stood out to you. Since we
Yeah, we
just
could do that.
since the game we're making is about making choices.
Indeed.
So does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Well, as we're finishing up, I think I'm gonna shoot us on. Oh, someone just joined. I'm sorry, you just joined for us to end. We're gonna raid. We're gonna raid another channel before we go, and I think one of the people we follow. Yep, Lokedown playing RimWorld. Ah, we have twice the people watching as he does. We're gonna blow his mind. But yeah.
Gonna be great.
But before we go off, I'll say tomorrow in the morning I'll be playing more Kingdoms of Amalur. We just started that, and it's really good so far. And then in the evening, we're going to be picking up with some more Fallout New Vegas. And as Fabulous Owl Riot and Stysic engage in the financial battlegrounds of the Twitch comment section.
Yep.
But let's get over to Loke. And get this all ready to go. But really appreciate everyone who stopped by and followed and
Yeah.
subscribed. It's been super duper. You guys are the true
Bye,
heroes.
everyone.
And we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Bye.